Let's navigate to our enclosure parts project by clicking on our data panel, finding the right project here, enclosure parts. We'll double click on that and we should see our 4 different parts. Now we're going to bring those parts into a new design so that we can arrange them. So we'll do that by simply left clicking on the part and dragging it in. However, you'll see that you're going to get an error and it's going to say that you have to save your design before you can bring any components into it. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll click on our save icon and make sure to navigate to the right project. So let's find it. In this case, enclosure parts, and you'll see it here in the location. And we'll give this one a name of enclosure case since that's what we're going to be designing. And we'll click save. Now we can try dragging in the parts again. So we'll left click, drag it in, and we'll see our part pop up. It gives us this option to move it into a certain location, but we're just going to click OK, and it should just go right in the origin there. It'll center it. Let's try that again with a different component. So let's bring in our battery charger. Again, it puts it right in the middle there. So we don't need it on top of or right inside the battery. So let's go ahead, click on this arrow here, and we're going to move that component to the side. Zoom out a little bit just so that they're not on top of each other. And we'll click OK. Next, we'll bring in the slide switch. So we'll do that the same way. We'll select this one by this arrow here and move it down a bit. Click OK. And then finally, we'll bring in our circuit playground. Again, it's going to position it right in the origin. So we'll take this by this same arrow and just move it up and click OK. We can now close our data panel. A few things I want to point out here is if you notice under our browser, we have each of these parts that we brought in. If we try to expand it, we'll see that bodies is grayed out, and so is sketches. So if we try to double click on it, we won't be able to edit any of them. It's not going to let us. And we also notice on that timeline we have this little sort of chain here on the 4 different components that we brought in, this little chain icon under each block. Okay, because these were brought in as components, now you may be wondering, well, we didn't design them as components, right? When we designed our parts, we just started designing sketches and bodies. We didn't make them into components. But when you save them and you bring them into a new design, it brings it in as components, regardless if you have it as a component or not. And there's a difference here. So because we brought them into a file that's within that same project, it brings it in as a component and it links it. So what that means is we won't be able to modify any of these parts within this design. If we want to make changes, we actually have to go into that part and change it and then update it. And in the next video, I'll show you what I mean.